Statistically, they're very impressive. They've got really strong teams backing them up too. So it's not like it's just one guy who carries their rosters. These guys have put in so much work and do so many good things. Those are the two players that I'm really excited to see duke it out, go head to head, have this battle, and whoever comes out on top, I think in that matchup, Faults versus Spades is going to be the team who has the better game and who ends up winning it.
And I think we definitely need to talk about and put it into perspective. A 1.61 KD, that's over the course of the entire season.
Oh yes.
And so sometimes getting a 1.61 KD in a match is impressive, it's really good, but to have that average in every match is insane, especially with some of the teams that we've been seeing so far. But we are in the bans for operators so far, and we see a Jackal and a Glaz band. So Jackal on this map, not as popular of an operator, but there are still plenty of uses that he has, especially considering he's got a secondary shotgun that can assist you in terms of any sort of breaking of the floors. And as we know in Consulate, most of the floors are destructible.
They are. And the last one is going to be Echo. So we were right. No Mira getting banned out from either side. Instead, it's going to be Pulse and Echo. And so those are going to be the operators a little bit more in favor of having that frag potential, right? Echo in particular has a really good gun. He's got that ACOG in particular, which can be really nice to use. And so none of these super surprising, but also not like the standard always bans, right? For these teams, they're not surprising. But we are going to see some operators be available, such as Mira, such as Glaz, Nomad as well, or sorry, not Glaz, Maestro. Nomad as well being on the board and being brought right now by Faults, and he has been so incredible with this operator. What do you think about Nomad? Because, of course, newest operator available for competitive players and had a bit of a splash coming into the new season.
Yeah, I think the Nomad teams haven't really been finding as much success with them as the whole Doomsday Nomad thing was about. It's definitely an operator. I still think it's overtuned considering like there's no audio or visual warning that's there. It's going to change with the upcoming patch. Really good. But overall, I think teams haven't really been utilizing her to her full potential because we just haven't really seen too many big results with her. Part of that might also be the maps too. Like last map we saw on Bank is a lot less useful for Nomad because a lot of times I like to say that like Villa is a really big map, Bank is a really big map, but they're big in different ways. Like Bank spatially is huge, but the rooms are also huge. Villa spatially is huge, but the rooms are pretty small. Villa's jam-packed with a ton of rooms, so Nomad's going to be a lot more useful in those where there are more choke points and more tight corners you can hide them behind. So overall, I think I'm surprised we haven't seen as much Nomad as we were predicting before this whole Nomad thing started, before she started getting into play, but she does have some pretty good uses when she does show up.
We'll see them start to attack onto this bomb site 30 seconds into the match now. So we're going to get into things. These teams starting to get aggressive, and look at Merc. Bringing the Blackbeard can be really powerful when you're attacking onto the top floor. Fortunately, you're attacking to the basement for this round, but still, Blackbeards can be really nice to be able to clear out the roamers who might be playing up top, and you've got a lot of drone denial being played on the side of Disrupt Gaming. You've got Mo on the Vigil, and then you've got Yeti playing Mute as well. Those are your two roaming players that you're going to see most often on Disrupt Gaming. These two guys are on the first floor at the moment, not playing up top. But of course, if you're OC, you don't necessarily know that, so you do have to be careful. You've got to take your time in clearing out this top floor, and they're good at that. I mean, this is a team who's very well rounded. They should be able to do so without too much trouble, but it's still going to take a lot of time away from them. And when they actually come down to planting, especially if they're not able to clear out these roamers cleanly, which so far they are, they could find themselves in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, great angle on by Oasis right there, taking out Yeti right off the bat, and that's one of those roamers we were talking about earlier. And now Mo is going to be left alone on the first floor, but he is in a pretty good position, holed up in the bathroom, where teams are going to have to peek him very aggressively in order to flush him out of there. Meanwhile, Spades finds a kill onto Fultz up the Visa stairs. A very good kill there, and that denies the Nomad. I think she used one of her charges already, potentially two, but that is definitely still a lot of good utility off the board, especially in a post-plant scenario. Just not having the Nomad means you can rush toward the bomb and not really have to worry about getting knocked on your back.
That's that battle of the star players I was talking about beforehand too. Spades maybe proving experience a little bit there, weighs out and comes out on top. Mo and Art both going to get a kill, and Mo ended up getting traded as he was again playing inside of the bathroom. So able to take down Gurmy, takes down the IQ. That's a pretty important operative kill. That's going to make it a lot harder for you to deal with those Valkyrie cams, certainly. Plant started to come out, but Reed is on top of things, and he's ready to make sure that nothing else happens in that. You can't get that down unless you deal with the Maestro cam, and it's going to be kind of difficult to deal with. They do have some frag grenades, which can hopefully do something. Merc also able to do something, a great headshot, able to land onto Evil Waffle. Another one though, Reed trades it back and forth immediately, and I can already tell you this game is going to go down to the wire. Look at this, 2-on-2. They're starting to get on in. These Maestro cams, so impactful. They don't even see each other, but Spades eventually is able to look on over, down, and then kills Art, but not before Reed falls and makes them in a one-on-one. Oasis and Spades, the last two players, they've both gotten the most kills for their teams in the round, but Oasis has to plant. He does not have a whole lot of HP. Looks like all the information's in favor of Spades, and he'll get the last kill in this round. Hit by the Nomad, but who cares? Disrupt Gaming take the first round.
Yeah, that was a really good round by Disrupt. And honestly, from both sides, there were refrags all across the board, and that's exactly the kind of thing I like to see. Roamers supporting roamers, and even if you can't save your ally, getting the revenge is still a very, very good option. And that's part of the reason why the round was so close as well. We also saw the attackers were put on the back foot a little bit. Organized Chaos, when Oasis went down, the new revive mechanics meant that he gets brought back up with 20 HP, and that is absolutely enough for a Maestro cam to finish off. 50, you have to be kind of like spamming it at her for a long time, but 20, that's, I believe, 4 shots, if I'm not mistaken.
So
I think they do 5 damage.
I'm not sure on that. Yeah, but, I'm not sure.
But overall, it's definitely something that puts more pressure on them, and that sort of forced Oasis to relocate and basically take out the Maestro before trying to take any other fight, before trying to plant the defuser, and that was actually a pretty big reason why they were so rushed at the end.
Highlighting players, I think Oasis had a really good round that round. Of course, didn't win the 1v1, but that was a really tough 1v1 to win. You had to go for the plant, you were on lower HP. I think Spades basically was given that 1v1. There's no way he should have lost that one, and he didn't. But Oasis starting it off with the opening kill of that round, and again, he's the support player for Organized Chaos, and early in the season, he wasn't really the guy who you were looking at on this team. I mean, he never played poorly. This is still the undefeated team. But he was a guy that you're not necessarily looking at. You're looking at Merc, you're looking at Faults, you're looking at Art sometimes. But Oasis wasn't really in that conversation more often than not when you're talking about OC. These last couple of weeks, though, he's been incredible in him. I'm glad that last week wasn't just a phase, at least for his first round here in week number 6. He's really shown that he is a really great player, and maybe one that was underestimated by a lot of players.
And cost as a statistic is a pretty good one to see the overall impact of players a lot more than just KD. But at the same time, it still doesn't paint the entire picture. There are a couple things that stats just really have a hard time tracking, like droning. Droning can be super important, but how do you track that? You can't put it into cost, you can't... Because you can't even make it like, oh, this person spent a minute of the round on his drone, because that doesn't mean that they were making good callouts, or that doesn't mean they were droning the right places. It just meant they spent a lot of time looking at a phone. So it's really hard to track those stats, and a lot of times support players have more impact than you think. So the fact that Organized Chaos has that undefeated streak is really good and shows a lot about the support players of their team for sure. But as we turn our heads toward this second round, as we see the defense hold up in the top floor this time around, we're going to see a little bit of a change in attacker lineup, as we have a Buck, and that's again going to be super strong considering that most of the floors on this map are breakable. So he'll be able to flush people out from a bunch of positions. Oasis gets the quintessential X-Kairos pellet set there. Meanwhile, Evil Waffle and Spades get each one headshot and bring it down to a 5v3 already.
Yeah, no, this is a really great position for the defenders to be in. Yeah, a couple of walls are being opened up by Oasis, but you expect that to happen as the defenders. Getting those 2 kills is probably more important than having that wall continue to be closed out. So I think they're very happy with how things are right now, but Oasis almost gets a free kill. He's not looking down towards the grates, though. Spades is ready for him, and it's going to put it into an even stronger player advantage, favoring Disrupt Gaming. They're looking quite good these first couple of rounds. Art and Fultz, however, 2 great players, and they certainly have the potential to turn this back around for their team. They are not currently with each other, but they can meet up very, very easily. They're both looking in towards the A-bomb site. Need to get the diffuser. I don't believe the defenders have it. I think it's down to a little bit closer towards the attackers, just not bothering with picking it up yet. more focused on getting these kills and finding something, because you know that with 5 players alive, they're going to be lurking around the map, and if you let them live for too long, it's going to be a disaster no matter what happens. Spades, however, shuts down Art. False needs the ace clutch, and it's a perfect round from Disrupt Gaming, looking very, very dominant 2 rounds in.
Yeah, super strong defense there, and unfortunately we didn't get to see the first 2 kills of that round, but they definitely set the defense in motion, and I have to think that they were probably roamer kills, maybe kills on people who are repelling, but honestly, you just don't want to lose 2 people that early in the round, especially when you're on attack where you absolutely need that man advantage. You saw as soon as those kills happened, Fultz had to pull off. I think Fultz, we saw him outside at around a minute left when there were only 2 members of his team left. I think that's probably because he was playing a repel. And so when you go down 2, when you go down 3, everyone who's on a repel generally has to pull off of it unless it's like the most important repel on a map. So he couldn't hold those angles. Nomad is very strong on repels too, because he can basically set air jabs up wherever he wants and cut people off from the rotations and just kill them afterward. So there were a lot of opportunities that were missed because he had to pull off with the repel.
On the side of Organized Chaos, 6 picking off of the hard breach, Oasis moving out of the Zofia, and I think again this speaks to his diversity, the fact that he can play these aggressive operators when needed, the operators that bring the good guns, the operator that maybe are going to be more of an entry style rather than support, sort of going from one extreme over to the other. They know they're going to likely attack onto lobby pressure. Not a lot of people go Teller's Archives, so I think it's fine that he's swapping off of the hard breach. And I'm glad that he's able to do so, right? Because it shows that he's a versatile player. And we'll see if this works out for him. Maybe he'll walk in and die and get nothing. That has yet to be seen. Certainly they haven't managed to find anything. But aside from the second round, the first round I thought was very competitive. Organized Chaos, they haven't been looking too terribly. It's only 2 rounds in. More than likely, we're going to see them start to bring it back at some point in this matchup.
I think Zofia is a really good operator for him too, because Zofia can double up as both the fragger and an information op as well. A little bit less so now that they reduced the amount of concussion grenades she gets, but still, if you toss one of those in a room and it doesn't go off, you know, hey, the room's clear. If it does go off, then you know, hey, there's someone in there, and depending on when it goes off, some people have gotten good enough to know roughly where someone is playing, depending on how long it takes for that to blow up. So if you've practiced Zofia a lot, you can definitely take advantage of those situations. And as you mentioned, Oasis is still a pretty good fragger in his own right too, so I think it's a good operator that gives him a blend of both. And not having a hard breach, considering both the top floor and the bottom floor have been struck from the map, they were already won for the defenders, I don't think you really need a hard breach anymore.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. This is likely going to be the best opportunity that OC have. Of course, the third bomb site's always going to be the weakest for the defenders, and it's a good start from Merc again, utilizing that F2, finds Spades, the best player, supposedly, on the side of Disrupt Gaming, will fall. And that's going to be a really great way to start off this round. Merc a little bit quiet last week, but overall in the season, he's been quite a good aimer, a great gunner. In terms of the individual skill, he's been one of the best in the league, certainly in the conversation for best fragger that they have. 4-on-5. As we're getting past that halfway mark, and you can see a lot of ground's been taken by the attackers. A lot of them are still outside, but they're on these windows, and they've managed to shut down a lot of these sight lines, so the defenders can't really wander around the bomb site like they would be able to like to.
Yeah, the biggest point is that they've cut off a lot of rotations.
Yeah.
So for the most part, the defenders have to sit tight, and depending on, I don't think there's any roamers left for the defense either, so the fact that they have so many angles and they're cutting off rotations mean that people can't get out to roam either. And that's a super strong spot for the attackers to be. It looks like Yeti is the only one on his team available for it. The ping goes out. Merc finally manages to get the headshot and kills traded back and forth across the board. Modiga gets 2, and Art trades back onto Modiga. That leaves us with a 3v2, as now 30 seconds left. Still enough time for the attackers to execute, especially a man up. Now we see a couple of fights on the stairs as Yeti forced to pull back a little bit. He wants to save his life more than anything else. Doesn't go for the aggressive peek. Actually, he does, but just a little bit too late. Reed does see the plant start. Pings go down. They see where both of the attackers on site are, but they don't see where the third one above the hatch is. Maestro Cam starts tagging him, but it's a little bit too late as the plant already goes down. And now we're in a retake situation, which in a 2v3 with one defender on 5 health is very hard to do. Reed gets 1 kill, however, that's Merc going down. And Merc is actually on the floor himself. This is not a very good spot to be.
No, Yeti with just a sliver of HP needs to find 2 kills and quickly because that diffuser is ticking, ticking, ticking. Oasis gets the kill on the Reed, finishes it off, and finds the second one as well. OC will finally get around onto the board, making it 2-1 now favoring DG, but still I think a really great, exciting round from OC. They really walked in and made a bunch of chaos. I mean, that's in their name. That's what they like to do, and I think they performed it beautifully, able to get in there and cause a lot of havoc. Able to win that bomb site. That's sort of what you got to do, right? You're attacking in onto the lobby press room. Just get on in, make some chaos happen. Once you have that ground, it's not like there's a lot of steps to getting there, right? It's basically just walk in and you can plant. So for DG, I don't think that was the worst thing in the world. They still came pretty close to it, and that was their 3rd bomb site. So now they get to go back to Garage. They can go back to Console afterwards. They're still probably feeling pretty good.
Yeah, first 2 bomb sites on this map are, I think most maps have 2 really good bomb sites and then 2 bomb sites that you're kind of iffy about going to, and you're almost forced to go to them, or sometimes they're a pocket pick. Like I think Border people have been starting to pick customs and bathroom more often earlier in the rotation. So that's one of those examples of a more open map. But this map is definitely, lobby is defendable, but it is still pretty difficult, especially as Corn Pop said, the front door is right there. It is a massive double wide door, allowing the attackers to get tons of angles in, and if you get control of meeting room as well, then you can look down through the floors and cover anyone trying to rotate in. So it can be a very difficult spot if you give up just a little bit of control to the attackers. So no real harm done for them losing that site. That just means they can go back down to the basement, and the next round, they can go back up to Console's office.
I know some teams, seemingly not Disrupt Gaming, but some teams even would choose to go to the split site, right? They go to Teller's Archives instead of going to that lobby press room. Sonics are a team who come to mind, a team that have really tried to make that new site work. They've had mixed results on it. It can be okay, but probably its biggest strength is just a lot of teams don't prepare very much in attacking, and so they struggle a little bit with that. Once teams start to learn a little bit more, as they somewhat are, I think that it's going to become a little bit weaker. At any rate, though, Disrupt Gaming choosing not to go there. They're going to go to lobby instead, and now with it opened up, Garage is going to be their destination. And again, it's a little bit of an aggressive playstyle, right? You've got Mo roaming up on this very top floor. Spades as well is up here. So rather than having Yeti roam, he might be up here as well somewhere, but regardless, having Spades so aggressive is a little bit unorthodox. Usually he's more of the flex player, but any position you put him in, he's going to be able to get work done. It's going to be a C4 that gets thrown by him and cleans up Merc on the Ash. So that's a really important kill to be able to get. A great fragger on the side of OC. He's going to fall in this matchup. And again, yeah, Yeti playing with a shotgun. He's playing down in that basement. Might have something to do with his performance in these 3 rounds. The only player on the team currently sitting with 0 kills. Somewhat uncharacteristic of him. He's been one of the best fraggers that they've had. Somewhat inconsistent, I will say. He's had his games where he's just looked a little bit rough. This might be one of those games. Too early to call, but still, I don't think putting him into a more of an anchor role is a bad decision, especially when you've got Spades, who's so good anywhere you put him.
Yeah, and we see some of that from Spades right now as he got that C4 kill on Valkyrie too, which is definitely a harder C4 to land than Pulse. But his cams were in the perfect spot, and he predicted the movement as well as he could. Yeti with a C4 of his own. That's even harder, getting a C4 if you're not Valkyrie or Pulse. But he still manages to make it work, and now the attackers are on the back foot, and they didn't even have to see a defender in order to make it happen.
That's a great spot to be in. Playing by the piano, Mo will get saved by Yeti. So just as I'm talking about how he's not performing this game, he shows up and shuts me up. Spades with another one in his pocket as well. Oasis falls, and it's all up to Gurmy in a 1-on-5. This looks like another round for DG, and yes, it will be. Round 4 goes back in their favor. When they get their bomb sites that they like, they've looked really, really good on them. And OC have not had great ways to shut down and open up and even get into the bomb site when attacking on Garage.
Yeah, I think a lot of it... So, Consulate is one of those maps that we know teams generally, and for the most part, it's the best idea to play top down. So you start 3rd floor, or start 2nd floor, work your way down to the basement, regardless of site, because it's a very roamer-friendly map, 3 staircases that they can use, and a lot of vertical play in control. But Disrupt seem to have predicted that. Disrupt have gotten the C4s up through the floor, they have gotten the vertical play down, and so far, Organized Chaos haven't really gotten their footing against that. So a lot of it, I think, comes down to they should be a little bit more on top of their drone play they can use windows to cut off rotations on the first floor. Uh, Sort of just end up playing the other sites a little bit more like they played the lobby site. And I think that will help them out a bunch.
And we talked about him, Spades up there with 9 kills and 1 death. So a 9.0 kill death ratio is something to be impressive of. We're only 4 rounds in, so I'm sure that's not going to stay that high. But it's still really impressive, right? 9 kills, 1 death in 4 rounds. Even just ignoring the deaths, like 9 kills in 4 rounds, that's like an average of like, what, 2.25 or something like that? It's quite a lot. It's quite a lot of kills, and so he's really been performing from this, for Disrupt. And as we mentioned, I mean, he's up there with the highest overall rating for a reason, tied with Neptune, tied with Faults. And certainly in this game, he has looked like a much better player for his team than Faults has been. Faults was quite a bit down there on the kill feed, or sorry, on the scoreboard. And so I think this is going to be the main reason why we see Disrupt Gaming playing a whole lot better. And OC slipping a little bit. Again, early, I'm sure they'll make some sort of a comeback, but finding themselves down 3-1 is not the position they wanted to be in, for sure.
I want to give a quick shout out to Corn Pop for doing math on stream and getting it right as well. That's a rare occurrence, but you nailed it. And looking at the defensive setup, it seems like they've opened up a lot of the site. They're looking to play long angles. They're looking to sort of deny the attacker's space early, and Fultz actually gets a nice headshot through the railings on the spiral stairs, and that's going to be Spades going down. And Spades, as we mentioned, one of the top fraggers for his team, and as you mentioned, just the last round, he has been showing up this game so far, but he's eliminated right off the bat, so they'll be definitely happy with that pick.
Just as I was saying, Faults has not been showing up, and Spades has been the man who's pulling his team up by his by the wayside. Well, he's going to be able to turn that around, and Caster's Curse, I guess, but either way, Faults is going to get it, and he's quite happy with that. Phone calls will ring out. The defender's going to have to deal with that. There's drones, a lot of harassment being thrown towards Evil Waffle, and it's going to be Merc at the window who eventually claims the kill 5-on-3, and these defenders really now are going to get a little bit worried. Mo, however, shuts down the player on the window. That's going to be Merc who does fall, so still a really great position for the defenders to be in. They're not necessarily worried just yet, but they do need to start winning some of these gunfights. Letting the Buck get into sight, letting Art be there is not going to be a good position to start off in. Oasis as well enters in. He does have that diffuser. Yeti with the angle tries to get some damage down, but is he going to be able to find the shots that he needs to? His phone still runs off. So he's a player running through the hallway, actually. Mo's going to be able to get a kill there, but it's still Reed out with a shotgun pistol. Art with another one. They're going to be just going back and forth. Suddenly it's only Reed with the shotgun pistol. He's got the pings, but he's so far deep into the smoke, there's really nothing he can do. He can't just walk on through. It's so difficult for him to do so. He's going to start things off really nice and easy with a headshot onto Art. It'll be Faults who comes right back in. And just as I was saying, this player is the guy who's been their best on the team, but a little bit slow this game. Well, he heats things up, and OC take round number 5.
I think the Disrupt ended up opening their site up a little bit too much, I think, during that defense. They already opened up a lot of the windows, but didn't really do anything with them. They opened up a bunch of walls between sites, and honestly, Organized Chaos, they spotted that out, and they took advantage of it really quickly. So I like to see that from Organized Chaos for sure. That last round obviously went in their favor, but I'm also sort of surprised we haven't really been seeing any Blackbeard played so far, given how important the windows are to this map and playing on repels. First round? Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. Never mind.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't really have that big of an impact, so it's easy to forget about. I think that was Merc who was bringing him, so there has been a little bit, but there really hasn't been a whole lot. And even that was attacking the basement, right? So it's not like you're attacking onto this top floor where he's going to be even more effective, right? When you're attacking the basement, it's good for roam clear and stuff, but ultimately it's not going to be peeking directly into bomb sites like it would be here when you're attacking to the top floor. Again, taking a look at the scoreboard though, and Faults finally getting onto the board with 2 kills. I think he's the player that you really want to watch out for on Organized Chaos, because if this is him starting to heat things up, then that means this is where things are going to get difficult for Disrupt Gaming. They're a team that have dealt with difficulties very well in the past, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to be as easy as this first couple of rounds were for the team. I do want to mention that the way this game's been going, we are somewhat trending towards a tie, because last time these two teams played, it was a 6-6 tie. It was on this map. There were 3 wins for each side, for each side, if you know what I mean. 3 wins on attack, 3 wins on defense. And so if this is a successful attacking round for OC, then we're going to be right on pace for the exact same scoreline we saw the first time these two teams matched up.
Looking at a bit of operator switches, the attackers have Organized Chaos have brought a Capitao this time, which is probably the most significant swap they've made. And so Capitao smoke bolts are going to be able to shut out angles more effectively than they have been able to before. On top of that, they have some frag grenades from Art, but he's been playing Buck a couple of times this round. And we also see an IQ on the board, which would be strong, but I believe Echo was one of the bans, wasn't he?
Yes. Banned out by
so
DG.
Echo or IQ just in case there's a Valk, but it doesn't look like it's going to be run this time around. So the IQ is still going to be marginally useful, but not nearly as much as if there was one of those two operators on the board. Oasis tries to get a wall bang, but doesn't quite get it. He's going to get challenged on the window, however. Spades gets one, Modiga gets a headshot onto Oasis, and that leaves us with a 3v5 Disrupt fire back on all cylinders.
Oh, and another great opportunity for Fault searching in. He did see somebody for just a moment. I believe he got the down onto Modiga. Yes, he did. But gets picked up by his teammates, so there's going to be no kill confirmed. And there's still 5 strong over on the side of Disrupt Gaming. If we want to go to a 3-3 half, OC are going to need to make changes in the last minute 30 of this round. So we have Spades sitting inside of the yellow stairs, shotgun primed and ready. But Fault's going to come in from up above him, and that's who he needs to watch out for, not the doorway. Nobody's coming in from that direction. We'll start to see everybody else just sort of calming down. Again, a minute 20 to go. The attackers really need to start getting kills because right now a 3-on-5, of course, does not favor you.
And Spades is still in a prime position to run out and attack anyone who's repelled off the console windows. Doesn't look like any of them are... Actually, one of them did go back up there. I think that's Gurmy, who is set up there. But Fultz actually gets flushed out by Spades, and that is the Defenders coming up with another kill. And they actually have a Claymore and Sights trained over on that side. A little bit overkill right there, but with 2 members left on the board, I think they have to make plays happen a little bit more effectively than this, instead of waiting for the run out to happen. Now Yeti is trying to hold near long desk, see if there's anyone going for the repel, and Spades actually peeks out and gets Art anyway. And so now Gurmy is the last one left. He's going to try to get that trade back, but Spades is still alive. Oh, he's going to toss the C4, but Reed actually steals the kill before he can get it.
Perfect round from Disrupt, and those slow burns are the ones that kind of hurt the most because, I mean, you're the first person to die, okay, well, I've just put my team in a 4-on-5, it's not that big of a deal. If you're the second person to die, you're like, well, okay, I kind of just lost a 1v1, it happens. And then your third person to die, it's like, okay, well, you know, again, it's just sort of on my own. And then you're the second person, or you're the fourth person dying, you're like, well, it was a 2-on-5, I had no hope anyways. And so it's difficult to sort of see one moment where everything went wrong. It's just a combination of little mistakes that eventually, before you know it, you've got 0 players left alive, and then that's an issue. That's how you lose rounds. Makes it a 4-2 into the half swap, so we will not see an exact repeat of the last matchup. Still, of course, a tie is potential, and we're going to start off in the garage, cafeteria garage for Organized Chaos, and they are actually going to be bringing Amira, and it's not surprising me that Gurmy's going to be the one who brings this operator. He's been the guy who maybe not playing as much support as Oasis does, but he's been playing the operators that can be very technically challenging and like to just sit back and sort of call the shots, you know?
One thing that I want to mention about last round as well in terms of why it went in Disrupt's favor is I think Organized Chaos spent too much time before they started to try to flush Spades out of the basement, because Spades ended up getting 2 or 3, I think it was 3 picks out from those yellow stairs, and each time it was either one person peeking him or him running out and killing someone off of that. So I think they needed to have a concerted effort to flush him out a little bit earlier in the round than they did. Unfortunately for Organized Chaos, they didn't end up doing that, and so now it is a 2-4 scoreline instead of a 3-3. But over on the side of Organized Chaos, they have decided to opt for the basement defense first, which is a pretty popular choice. It's frankly either that or consoles first, depending on team preference. And we do see a Nomad on attack as well, so I think we saw one first round, but it didn't really manage to get much done, so hopefully we will be able to see Disrupt put it to more use.
Oh, Spades is crazy with this operator. I think it's an operator that a lot of players at the start, you know, when he first came out, it took a while for people to start getting good with Nomad, right? There were a lot of people who were, they were bringing Nomad, but it didn't have the hugest impact, right, in every single round. But now you've got players like Spades who have really come to like the operator. They've learned it so well, and they do a lot of work with it. You'll see him bring this operator probably on over half of the rounds that he attacks on, and again, can do a ton of work with it. So I'd be very scared if I'm over on the side of Organized Chaos, and against for any team playing up against DG. I think that's always got to be something you consider for your attacking ban. Wasn't what OC went with this time. They chose for Glaz instead. But either way, I think this is going to be something that they should know is coming and that they should be somewhat scared of.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's also not to say that Glaz was a bad ban or anything, or that they should have banned Nomad, because Glaz on this map is pretty insane. Lots of long sightlines, lots of places that smoke can cut off rotations, but Merc actually gets the first kill on the Evil Waffle off of a run out, and they're going to try to refrag that, but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen quite yet. Oh, he actually gets it! Oh, no, he didn't get in the door.
Oh, that's a different player.
I thought he got in, yeah. Oof, that was close, but he does get in the door.
Now he does.
But Art actually gets taken down by a frag grenade. Not quite killed yet. Fultz actually goes down by the hands of Spades. That's a headshot. And Art gets picked up, so no harm, no foul on that end of the map, but still a good one-for-one trade, all things said and done.
Mark has more opening kills than any other player in Challenger League, and honestly, comparatively, not a whole lot of opening deaths either. He's been a great entry for the team of Organized Chaos, and he's been a really big player. Spades, though, as we were talking about on the Nomad, takes down Oasis. That's going to be the Maestro that goes down, and again, that's a really important late-game operator. You want to have him alive for that plant, and I'll be able to use those Evil Eyes. Now that's no longer going to be an option for OC. As well as that, they're going to be at a player disadvantage 3-on-4, not the biggest deal, but again, it's these little disadvantages that are going to add up and make you just less and less likely to win the round. Time is in their favor, however, 35 seconds. The attackers really need to start making something happen. If Art can play this smartly inside of Cafeteria, then that could be a huge boon for his team. Just wants to waste as much time as possible. Got those Toxic Babes, you got the shotgun as well. You have a lot of tools to work with. Spades down somewhere, and that might have been from the Toxic Gas. Either way, though, Yeti's finding kills on a Merc. Again, that was their entry fragger who did go down. Makes it a 2-on-4, and this is looking a little bit worse and worse. All things considered, 10 seconds, so they need to get in. They need to start making things happen fast. Yeti with a great shot onto Gurmy. Leaves it all on Art, and he cannot do it. Spades on the Nomad. Gives it for Disrupt Gaming. Round number 7 is theirs.
I think Spades ended with 3 kills that round. Very big performance from him. And especially on the Nomad, he decides to go with the ARX. I know there's a bit of contention about whether you use the AK or the ARX. I like the ARX. A lot of people like the AK for the extra bullets in the mag, but either gun can be utilized effectively with the right player, and it seems like Spades is indeed that right player. I'm trying to remember, I didn't hear a Nomad air jab go off at all that round.
I don't think anything...
So I think it was just his fragging power on those weapons, which is pretty crazy, and that just means that they won the round without needing to use that utility, because I don't think he used it incorrectly. I don't think he put them in places where nobody would push. I think it's just the defenders died before they got a chance to trip it.
Yeah, no, 100% I agree with you. Just not really necessary for those Nomad charges to go off. Talk about Organized 15. Chaos for a little bit. Wow, that's, yeah, Spades is nuts. Crazy. Organized Chaos, though, for just a moment, please, because the record, of course, 8-2-0, right? They are the only undefeated team. They have got 26 points in the season, far and away. If they lost both of their matches today, they'd still be in first place no matter what happens, right? They're far above the pack. But if you look at the past couple of playdays, they have looked mortal, right? Last week, 2-7-5 losses. You look at USN a couple of days ago, a loss to the Sonics, and a dominant loss, too. It was 7-2 was the scoreline in that matchup. So Organized Chaos, like, recently, they have not been looking like the super powerhouse that they were at the start of the season. Not to say they've been looking bad. They've still been looking like definitely, you know, top 3, top 2 team in Challenger League. But we said it before the game started, I believe you mentioned it, that if anybody's going to give these guys their first loss, it's probably going to be Disrupt Gaming. Because, yeah, they're a little bit farther down on the scoreboard, only second, but comparatively, you know, 17 points to 26. That is a bit of a gap. But I think their play has been so great recently, and Organized Chaos have slowed down a little bit. They've looked mortal. It looks like other teams have somewhat caught up to them, and DG, no exception. Currently leading 5-2. They could give them another 7-2 scoreline, as the Sonics did over in USN. Or maybe they could pull it back right now. Who knows?
Seems like the attackers will be favoring a... Wow, with that grenade! Yeeted that to the very back of the admin offices and is able to take him out. Good drones and good toss by him, so that is exactly the kind of pick that you want, and pretty much anytime you kill someone without even seeing them is a really good time, whether it's C4 or grenades, because you're just not in danger of getting killed or even refragged in those sorts of situations. So free kill on defaults, and that has got to hurt for the defenders.
Especially because, again, this is their statistically strongest player, and he's the guy who... It's interesting that they're going to put him over onto the Vigil, because that's, again, a very aggressive player, and usually Spades is more the guy who's, like, not the entry fragger, really. He's not the guy who's going to be super aggressive on their team. Usually that's Merc, and he's not playing on a passive operator, don't get me wrong. He's not playing an anchor, but it's interesting that he would be the one over on the Vigil. I guess Merc just a little bit more comfortable with the Jaeger on his side, but... Either way, he's the opening death, a little bit uncharacteristic from Faults. That's the way it goes sometimes, though. Still 1 minute to go, and the attackers still have 4 players alive. That's not a bad place to be in. That means that, or the defenders have 4 players alive. That means the attackers are going to have to start putting the pedal to the metal and start getting in, make stuff happen. That's what Yeti's trying to do right now by opening up the floor of the press room, opening around this piano. Is at the same time, Evil Waffle starting to open up the garage. So this push is going to be coming in very, very shortly. 45 seconds left on that clock. You got Oasis on these Evil Eyes, and he's ready for the push to come on in. Gurmy behind the mirror window. Everybody just preparing for as soon as this push comes on in. 35 seconds. We're going to get right on into it.
And the defense are like a fish in a barrel right now, being attacked from all sides from so many different weapons, and at this point they just need to rely on their plant denial, and it seems like Art is trying to force everyone off of the garage doors. Will it be enough, however, as Yeti actually gets a couple of shots down onto Gurmy, taking him down to about 20 health, but it's not quite enough to kill him quite yet. Reed puts out a couple of grenades, and now Spades picks off 1 kill. Art gets a kill onto Evil Waffle. Not quite a trade yet, but 4 seconds left on the clock. The attackers need to start planting right now. Reed is planting in not the best spot right now. This is the defender's time to go for it. They're not able to take him out, but Art finally manages to get the kill. That was close on a plant, but the rest of the team was dying around him as well, so overall, just a very rushed attack, and they might have waited a little bit too long for that execute.
You saw it in the post-round replay with the overhead view. Whoever it was that had just walked into cafeteria, they had a clear shot trying to take down Art, who was working with that shotgun trying to stop the player going for the plants. Just couldn't quite land a shot fast enough, though, and so Art very happy that he got that kill. Had he not done it, then his team would be facing up against match point, and the best they would be able to achieve here would be a tie. Merc, I think that he just ran out of time to select his operator, so teases the Kapkan, but of course gonna 6-pick off of that. Go over to the Jaeger, makes a lot more sense. Spades, much have been talking up his Nomad, as well as it has been working for him, he's gonna go over to the Twitch instead. Again, though, this is a great operator, a really good gun, pretty good utility attacking to Amira especially, so I don't think this is a bad swap up at all.
Yeah, and I even think people underestimate the Twitch drone when there isn't Amira as well, because not only for the utility denying and the fact that she can just tase a bunch of different defender gadgets, but the fact that the drone is super quiet. You can generally get that Twitch drone into a lot of places you can't get a normal drone just because the defenders won't hear it coming in. So that is another point in Twitch's favor as well. But we do see a Visa defense, and this is something that I mentioned before and I'll mention again. I think this is a more viable site than a lot of teams are giving it credit for, and a lot of that comes from you really need to play vertically strong if you're a defense on this site. Trying to hold someone in the lobby outside of Visa is ridiculously hard to do because there are so many angles the attackers can take you down from. But if you play in admin, you can get the drop on a lot of those attackers. You can deny the space, and then you only have to deal with the downstairs, which, if you bring a castle, is super easy to close off because there are only 2 places the attackers can actually walk into the downstairs site if a hatch is not open. So I think overall, if you play this right, it can be a very defendable site. Not as much as the main 2 on this map, but still a pretty good one.
That's why we see a lot of teams go here rather than lobby press room, even choosing to go here for OC rather than going up top. So it's interesting for them that they would choose this, likely just trying to swap things up for the the attackers. Probably aren't going to go here again, but they could, certainly, if it works well and if they are forced onto it. They're going to get a couple of these defensive rounds in a row, so it's certainly a bit of a gamble on the side of Organized Chaos, choosing to go here rather than a different bomb site, but We'll see. You can tell they've got a lot of players downstairs, and as you were mentioning, this can be somewhat easier to hold when you've got a castle, which they have brought. It's Oasis playing that operator, and they have a lot of rotation available, or options available to them. They can go all the way up to the top floor, all the way down to the bottom floor. They have this control around those back stairs, and so that's a really important bit of rotation to hold on to for the defenders, because it allows you to be really flexible and go wherever you're needed, wherever those attackers are starting to challenge, which right now looks to be the basement.
I think, looking at the silhouettes, I think Gurmi is playing the second floor in admin as well, which is a very strong mirror position, not only for this site, but of course for the console's office site as well. So you basically play those the same way, just trying to deny admin, but two people get downed on either side. That's Spades and Merc both going down, and the kills will be confirmed. Modiga pushes in, gets one frag, goes for the knife, not gonna get it. Merc kills him instead, and now Yeti taking out Art as well, leaving us with a 2v3. Reed not able to push in yet from his own asphyxiating bolts, but he did manage to flush a defender out of there. On the other hand, trying to bait the revive as well onto Spades. Reed actually takes out Merc, and now Gurmi's the last one left alive. He was on the top floor, so he will have to play these hatches, and he is going incredibly slowly. Hey, the element of surprise is the strongest thing you have in a 1vx situation, but from that drop, they can probably hear him. Gurmi gets one, but there were just too many sights trained on him right there, and Disrupt are going to win the attack by just forcing their way through the basement.
Maybe you would have wanted to see Gurmi rotate downstairs a little bit sooner. Like, once you realize all the attackers are focused on the basement, there's zero contention for that top floor. Maybe you want Gurmi to rotate a little bit sooner than he did, because at that situation, when you're in a 1-on-3 and you're like still on the top floor, you're basically lost it, because you have to drop and they're gonna hear you, and you're rarely gonna win that gunfight, no matter how good you are, especially playing as Mira. That's just so tough to try to win. So I don't think that you should put it on him for failing to clutch that round, but I do think that maybe he should have been able to come down a little bit sooner, as soon as that call was made, assuming the call was made, for him to be able to get back downstairs. But regardless, they lose the bomb site, and DG go up to match point. 6-3 is the scoreline. They cannot lose this game, and they're looking very, very poised to hand OC their first loss of the season.
I also think that OC should have been expecting that basement push a lot sooner too. Not only just for the Gurmi rotate, but we saw on our screens both of the castle barricades that were put up in the basement to deny space toward that site were taken out. And that happened like a minute before the execute happened, so there was plenty of warning that there was going to be a heavy basement push, and it just didn't seem like there was much of a reaction from Organized Chaos. They did have 3 people down on site, I believe, but they weren't set up in position yet. They were still rotating around trying to get into position, and overall I think Disrupt just took really good advantage of that, and just read the situation very well from their droning. They went where the defense was weak, where they didn't have as many players, forcing them to rotate, and they just got the drop on Organized Chaos.
Sort of ended up in a bit of a frag fest too when they were entering into that bomb site, and just the fact that a couple of the players over on OC maybe aren't having the best day of their lives. They're not playing bad, don't get me wrong, but they haven't been going off as much as some of the other guys have on DG, as much as Yeti and Spades have. So just losing those 1v1 battles can be really, really punishing for you in that situation, when it really just comes down to a gunfight, when the enemy is just rushing into your bomb site. Not a lot you can do except for just try to hit your shots, and at that point in time, guys just weren't getting the trades that they needed to. So again, they find themselves up against match point, and they're going to have to defend onto console. And so this is a bomb site they haven't chosen to defend yet. Through 3 rounds, they've gone garage twice and tellers once. After garage has been closed up, they can go back to garage next round, but for now, they're going to have to do something different. And I think this is probably going to be pretty expected from the attackers. They should know where they're headed, because this is the better bomb site, and the fact that you went for that sort of oddball bomb site, the one that's meant to shake things up and it didn't work, means you're probably not going to go there again. We see Merc playing inside the private bathroom. Fault's roaming down to that bottom floor, though. Again, it's a little bit interesting that he's the one roaming off the bomb site. Oh no! He's so easily called out by Yeti. Just makes it look so simple. Peeks around the corner, says, "That's my head. I'm gonna shoot it right in the nose, right in the middle." And wow, yeah, Fault's just no chance to win that gunfight.
That was such a clean headshot, and now Merc actually being forced off of the yellow stairs. It's a very strong position for the defenders to be in, and if there's anyone to use to flush him out, it would be Capitao, because we saw he had 2 ADSs there. Grenades are usually what you use to flush out someone on yellow stairs, but when you got those ADSs, the best option is a Capitao bolt, which cannot be destroyed by ADSs. So they managed to get that position, It's very good. They won't be able to be rotated on as much as before. They get control over Bathroom, but Merc is still challenging the angle. Gets a couple of shots off, but Reed refrags him from the windows, and Reed gets a second one. Headshot onto Gurmy, leaving us down to with a 2v5. And now Oasis is trying to peek in and see what he can do. He has to challenge a long angle, but he does have an ACOG, so if there's any gun to do it with, this would be it. He's getting challenged from multiple angles, however, and he's going for the peek, and Reed gets yet another headshot. They need to stop peeking this guy, and Spades cleans the last one up. Art goes down, and that means Disrupt take a win under their belt in a pretty convincing victory.
That's crazy. Organized Chaos finally taken down. And what a scoreline, 7-3. I mean, they had their rounds, they had their moments, but for some of those, they just look like they weren't there. Disrupt Gaming proving that they are a contender for one of the best, if not the best team in the league. They are gunning for that Pro League spot, and you better believe they've got a great chance of getting it. 17-3. That is the stat line for Spades. That is insane. That is so crazy of a stat line. I'm just so blown away that he was able to get that. Almost a 6.0 KD ratio. That is nuts. Got to be one of the highest that we've seen in all of Challenger League so far. So Disrupt Gaming, they're looking better than ever. Spades is showing up and doing exactly what he needs to do. Getty is there when he needs to. That last round, Reed popped off. I mean, the first 11 rounds, or however many rounds we had, the first 9 rounds, I don't think that he needed to be popping off. But yeah, when he's got the opportunity, you can tell that he steps up when he has to. And just absolutely brilliant play from Disrupt Gaming. I think they're going to be really strong this season. They could clinch tonight. Depends on how some of the other games go, but this could be the night that they're looking for to grab that second spot inside of Challenger League playoffs.
And with that, we're going to head into a quick break as we set up the next game, and we'll be back with, it looks like, Vicious Gaming versus Silla's Gorillas. So we're going to see more of Silla's, and we'll see what they can do if they can tie this one out. But for now, we will be right back.